12月5日午後11時を回りました。皆様いかがお過ごしでしょうか。今週もやってまいりましたよ、Cardano Radio。いや、もう3エピソードにわたってすごいですね。もうパイさんのトークがもう僕も本当に勉強をしもって聞いておりますが、先週もなかなかね素晴らしいトーク炸裂で最高でございました。そして今週はなんとね、カルダノのね、未来今後の話について語ってくれるということなのでね、いろいろと話していきたいと思います。そして皆様からのメッセージやコメントはashradio@gmail.com もしくはハッシュタグでもね、メンションアットマークでも大丈夫です。アシアプール ASHIYAPOOL もしくは、アシアラジオそのまま ASHIYARADIO までお願いいたします。さあここでねもう僕のトークはいいと思います。ただ今週がねもう最終回になるのがすごく、悲しいのですがこれ読んでみたいと思います。 Thanks for coming back to the show.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's kind of
fourth week.
It's kind of sad it's going to be the last week.
You can always have me on again in the future. I'm always happy to come on.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, like I introduced in Japanese a little bit, we talked about, a bit about Cardano's future at the ending of the last episode. So maybe, there's layouts and much more to talk about. So, you're the maestro, the professional here. So I want to give the mic to you.
Yeah. So I think one of the most exciting things coming to Cardano in the next while. So, I think we're going to see two really exciting protocol upgrades.
Yeah.
One is a protocol upgrade called Paras, P-E-R-A-S. And another one is the much more well-known one is Leos, L-E-I-O-S.
Yeah.
And these are about solving kind of some of those fundamental problems that I alluded to in our I guess that was the second episode, which is by today's standards, Cardano is still a relatively slow blockchain. It's come a long way since where it was back in the day, but it still could be pushed quite a bit further. And there's, when you talk about like a fast blockchain, there are two ways that something can be fast. One is the finality, right? So if I send you money and you're going to go off and pay your rent with it, how long do you have to wait before you can be confident that you are going to be able to pay your rent, right? And on Bitcoin, for example, that's like an hour because you usually wait about 6 blocks and each block is about 10 minutes. On Cardano, it's a bit faster. It's usually, 6 to 8 minutes, maybe a bit faster if you really are waiting for that like high confidence finality. And where that comes from, the reason that, these have different times, both on Cardano and on Bitcoin and other chains, is because we're never 100% certain when a block is final. Imagine there's some big internet outage, right? So AWS is down. It was just down a couple days ago. And half of the network can't talk to the other half. Well, it's blockchain, so the show must go on. So those two halves will continue producing blocks. They'll continue saying, hey, here is what I tentatively believe the next block should be. Because maybe all those other computers just decided to turn off. There's no way you can know that it's just a temporary communication gap.
Yeah.
And then when that communication gets established, those halves start talking to each other again. And, they may have irreconcilable differences, right? So somebody to one half announced a transaction that, I paid you $10 for for a candy bar, and on the other half, I paid that same $10 to somebody else for a Netflix subscription. And if you just like mash them all together, well, you've now created $10 out of it. You have $10 and Netflix has that $10. And that's, that defeats the purpose of why we have a blockchain. And so we need some way to reconcile those differences. And the way that is generally picked is you see which one has a longer chain of blocks, right? Who was bigger, who produced more blocks. That's an indication that like, hey, the most economic value was captured by these people, right? Maybe one side was just 10 stake pool operators who were in the same data center but couldn't talk to the outside world. And the other half is all of the other stake pool operators, right? And so the longer chain will win out over a smaller group. And this is also to prevent like adversarial attacks where you like make up a chain and you try to announce that to the world as, hey, I was separated and now I'm back, kind of lying. We need a way to kind of make the system resistant to this. And so that means, all of that is to say, when you're looking at the state, like what you believe to be the state of the blockchain, it may have a few blocks that ultimately get rolled back and you end up taking a different path through the kind of set of blocks. And that means that like until you're, and usually that process can only ever discard like a few blocks. And the further back in the chain that you go, the less likely it is that there is some kind of partition in the network that will cause you to roll back that far. For example, on Cardano, we regularly see rollbacks of like 1, maybe 2 blocks, but we've never seen a rollback longer than 14 blocks, I think is the record. And so, if you want to wait for those funds to be final, you have to decide how confident do you want to be that they are that they've reached that finality, and how long are you and then that will determine how long you wait. Okay, so that's a very long-winded explanation of finality. And the first protocol upgrade, Paris, is about shortening that window. It's about saying, hey, if we do have a lot of the stake pool operators online and voting for a particular chain, well, maybe we can just decide that that's going to be final. And even if we see a longer chain that doesn't have those kinds of votes, that doesn't have those votes from the SPO, even though it's longer, it doesn't have as much weight, and so it doesn't win out. And so with Paris, it shortens this finality window in most cases from 2 to 3 minutes, which is what it is today, depending on how long you want to wait, down to like 5 or 6 seconds, right? Very short finality windows. So that'll be really, really exciting. The second big protocol upgrade, which, so Sundae Labs hasn't been involved in Paris a lot. We've read the research papers, we've had some discussions, but, we haven't been involved. Sundae Labs has been much more involved in the other protocol upgrade called Laos.
Laos, yeah.
And so I said there were 2 ways that something could be quote unquote fast. One is it's fast to settle, right? You don't have to wait very long for your particular transaction to be considered final. The other is throughput, which is how wide can you go? How many users can you satisfy at the same time? And maybe, those users have to wait a long time. Maybe they wait a couple minutes, but at least you're satisfying many, many users at once. And this is called throughput. And this is usually what people refer to as like transactions per second or transaction bytes per second or whatever. And Laos is meant to improve the throughput. And it's a whole big, super complex topic, so I won't go super in depth, but the brief explanation is that what it tries to do is the current blockchain is very spiky. It will be your computer running the stake pool node will be very quiet for most of the time, right? 19 out of a 20-second window, you're doing nothing with the computer. And then a new block comes in and you've got to validate it. And so you do a bunch of work for like a couple 100 milliseconds. And then you go back to being quiet for the next, 15, 20, 30 seconds. And so what Leos is an attempt to do is fill in those spaces, right? If the computer is idle, why don't we make them do useful work? And that turns out to be really, really hard to do of like, well, why can't we just run, validate transactions all the time? And as many as we validate, that's what goes into the block. Turns out there's like lots and lots of reasons why that doesn't just work. And so Leos is a family of very creative designs, some more complicated than others, that smooth out that work. And the current one that's being worked on right now is called linear Leos, which is a very simple version of the protocol that gets us to like really high throughput. So like right now, Cardano does, maybe, what is it? Hold on, let me just do the math real quick. Right now, Cardano does every, so a block can be up to 90,000 bytes, give or take, and that happens every 20 seconds. So we can do 4,500 bytes of, transactions per second on average, right?
Okay.
So about 4.5 kilobytes. And the linear Leos lets us push that much higher. So about like 300 kilobytes per second is what our simulations predict is the upper bound for linear Leos. And if you assume that each transaction is like 200 bytes, that ends up being like 1,000 to 1,500 transactions per second, which is like now market competitive, right, with other chains, and we do that all without sacrificing any of the decentralization or robustness or stability of the Cardano network. So, lots and lots and lots of work been done on that. We helped with the simulation, but there was many other people involved in that, and it's very exciting. So if you want to learn more about that, there's a monthly demo that the team does. There's a there's a GitHub repo that you can go and read that research on. I've done a bunch of interviews on it. I've written a blog post on a slightly different variant of Leos. I'm going to do an updated one on linear Leos, but yeah. Any questions about it?
Well, you said there's two. There's linear and there's one more, didn't you say, for the Leos, or did I?
Well, there's kind of a fuzzy. Yeah, there's a fuzzy family of like how you could design Leos.
Oh, okay.
One, so there's Leos is the description for protocols that are trying to fill in these gaps between blocks, and you can do that in a couple of different ways. And so linear Leos is the one that we think has the best chance of getting implemented and has minimal disruption to the ecosystem. There's also like full Leos, which is what was described in the research paper. It gets you quite a bit more throughput, but ultimately is very, very difficult to implement, and would likely, it would take 3+ years to implement. It would be super disruptive to dApps. So the research team right now believes that that's where we want to go in the long term, right? Likely. But if we can relieve some of the throughput pressure, right? Like if we can get linear Leos delivered much faster, to get us this upgrade from 20 to 1,000 transactions per second, like that's a big win. Versus if we have to wait 3 to 5 years to get to 8,000 transactions per second, right? And for all of that time, we're stuck at 20. That wouldn't be good, right?
True.
And so, that's the current team's thinking. But really, it's a set of protocols that we can continue to evolve and continue kind of push the limits of. This is just like really a practical engineering choice of like, hey, how do we get the most benefit in the shortest amount of time while setting us up for some of the things that we want to do longer term.
Wow, but that seems, you know, probably the best way, because like you said, waiting 3.5 years and staying the same is, you know, not a good idea for a lot of people. So, you know, yeah. When do you expect Laos, if linear Laos goes well and as planned, like sometime next year, hopefully, or?
So I am not. It would be a very rude of me to give a timeline because I'm not the one that's, you know, we're helping with Laos, but at the end of the day, I'm not the one that's accountable. So, you know, it'd be like me going, you know, it'd be like me telling you, not as the, you know, as a different mechanic, right? Imagine you go and to get your car repaired. And the other mechanic tells you one number, or tells you like, hey, I have to look at it and I have to evaluate it first. And I tell you, hey, it should be 30 minutes and $20, right? That would be really rude of me. So I'm not going to give a timeline. What I will say is I'm very optimistic. It is a much simpler protocol than full Laos, and full Laos was going to be a real slog to get through. So I'm very optimistic that it will be a much better situation than that. And you know, we're helping push forward. So somebody has already started the work on Laos. Many teams have, and we're prototyping out the types and the wire protocols for nodes to communicate with each other and things like that. So we're Charles likes to say, follow the sun. And we've got people working on it 24 hours a day.
Wow, that's great. Well, you know, thanks a lot for that. Okay, so maybe, you know, I got to let you go very soon, but maybe one last question, because, you know, I tend to ask a lot of broad questions, and I'm really sorry, but, you know, like maybe not Sundae Labs or not Cardano, Pi as an individual, where do you think the future of blockchain will lead us to? Like technology-wise, and how would it help? Like right now, we're like, you know, like all the dApps and people who are in the crypto world, mainly, you know, are like impacted with the blockchains, right? I mean, if you go into details, I mean, you know, there are like some countries, like Africa, with the, you know, ID card and stuff like that. But in the much broader view, where do you think blockchain will take us to in the future?
Are you asking where I think it will or where I hope it will?
Let's say hope. hope. That's a better question.
Okay, where I hope blockchain takes us.
Yeah.
Which is very much an open question given all the things I mentioned in our first episode that give me a love-hate relationship with blockchain. But where I hope it takes us to is it becomes, you know, in the same way that democracy was a fundamentally new tool in the toolbox for how to organize society. I hope that blockchain becomes a fundamentally new tool that allows us to raise the floor on the quality of life for people around the world. So I hope that it provides transparent, auditable, immutable, tamper-resistant ledgers for us to build social products and social good that benefits like people at the billion scale. Things like you know, true ownership of money, things like access to financing so people can start businesses, things like you know, protection of your personal data and like the reclaiming of sovereignty over your data, things like you know, the ability to do government programs in a way that is immune from grift, right? That the rules are set down and can't be changed later, right? Unless, you know, except through the approved systems, and that fraud and corruption can be detected through on-chain analysis. That's what I hope blockchain has to offer for the world. It's in a sense, I hope that it helps relieve the world of so many law offices of litigation and dispute, where the blockchain is just the definitive answer for who is the rightful owner of that thing. So that's a very, very grand vision for blockchain. I go back and forth some days on whether that is realistic or achievable, but that's why I'm here, and that's what I'm building for.
All right, thank you very much. I think you gave me the most perfect wrap ever. So you just started from episode 1 to episode 4 and just wrapped it up completely. Thank you very much for doing my part of the job. Yeah, but that was beautifully said. Thank you so much. And I know you're such a busy guy, and 4 episodes over an hour. I really appreciate your time, and it was great having you. And I would love to have you back on the show in the future.
Yeah, I would love to be back, Ron. If there's ever any topic you want somebody to come on and explain, hit me up. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot one last thing. This show, like how you were called to the show, was so Big Peyton introduced me to you as the next guest of the Cardano Radio. And what we do is we have like guests introduce us to the next guest, and it doesn't have to be necessarily the next episode. But if you can, if you can't mention the name right now on the show, that'd be great. But if you can, introduce us to the next guest, that'd be very great. Do you have somebody in mind, or maybe you got to think about it for a while and let me know later?
Yeah, I'll message you some candidates. I don't know who you've had on the show, and I don't know if they're open to viewing, so I won't put them on the spot. But I've got a couple of ideas of who to introduce you to. So I'll message you. I'll message you out of bound.
All right, thank you very much. Just give me one second. I'll just tell them in Japanese. 皆さん本当にね4週間、最高な番組でしたね。本当にもうパイさんのすごいトーク良かったですよね。また皆さんね来週同じ時間で同じ時間同じ場所でお会いしたいと思います。来週はどんなゲストが登場するのかな、お楽しみにしてください。Alright, bye. Thank you very much for your amazing time. I had a great time too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope to see you soon. Bye.
Trading, pools stay deep, stake, delegate, rewards to keep. Midnight with us, protecting the right. Privacy balanced with laws in sight. Identity verified, freedom and tax. Zero knowledge whispers guard every act. From Voltaire's voice to Treasury song. On-chain decisions